I like to start my outdoor practice with some seated poses. This is after setting an intention and just being still for a moment. By starting with the twisting, it encourages suppleness in the spine and the ribs. It encourages the shoulder blades to retract over the back. And also in the seated poses, it encourages little external rotation in the legs. You see how the knees are laying out. And so basically, the seated twisting and breathing gets everything ready for practice. Outdoors, it's nice to take some good, nice deep breath, inhale and exhale. Next, I lean to the left. Not only am I leaning to the left, but I try to turn my face skyward, so I'm getting some different stretch on the neck. And then going a little bit deeper into the oblique abdominals, the side bending abdominals. Contracting the left opens the intercostal muscles on the right. Now I'm leaning to the right, contracting the right side. Abdominals, opening the left side. Intercostals between the ribs, turning my face skyward, stretching the neck, leaning over, right? Using the oblique abdominals. And then some deep breath through the nose, inhale and exhale. Now I'm leaning on the elbow all the way on the left side and extending the right arm. And you will notice I'm moving back and forth with my head just to encourage suppleness and movement in the spine, the neck, the vertebrae of the neck part of the spine. Inhaling and exhaling through the center. And then taking the same stretch on the right side. The right elbow is down and the left arm is extending way over, looking down and looking up and trying to generate some suppleness in the spine. See, relax the forehead, relax the jaw. We're just getting started, see? Come to the center, inhale and exhale. Next, I'm putting my left foot on top, makes a kind of, it's Sukhasana, or the beginning of lotus. And moving the torso forward and down, rounding the back, and then up and back, open the front body and the throat. Look how the elbows are really lifted up, back, and then changing legs, putting the right leg on top, and we'll do the same actions. Now you can see already in these forward folds, you can see my scoliosis. I do have scoliosis forming, and for the way my scoliosis going is making the muscles on the right side of my back, it's making those muscles larger, so it looks like I'm twisting, but I'm not. And those of you with scoliosis, I really just want to encourage you to keep moving your spine and your ribs and keep exploring back bending. So all of this rib and spine movement is what really helps my scoliosis. Next, we're going to go ahead and hold on to the left foot. And oh gosh, bring the foot to the face. It's a piriformis stretch, external rotation of the leg. Inhale, exhale. And then look how the elbows draw back. So you're also working the shoulders and the bicep. The elbows draw back, the shoulder blades squeeze together. Bow the head down. And then wrap your arms around the left shin and the left foot and just rock rock your leg like a baby, sort of rock it right back and forth. And this just encourages loosening up the joints. We'll do the same thing with the right leg. And I go ahead and take the foot, lift my foot. So good in the morning. Just the piriformis stretching in the morning, so good. See, external rotation. I inhale the leg out a bit, and then exhale, draw it to the face. I want to try to touch the third eye. And we do this again, big inhaling, and exhaling. Draw it in, draw it in. Good. And then reach around the shin bone and just rock like you're holding onto a baby. Very, very pleasant. Relax your face, relax your jaw. And now we're ready to extend the legs out. We've been sitting for a while, so it's nice to roll back on the back. So we take first a forward fold. Oh, so good. Then lift up the spine, lift up the ribs, and again, a forward fold. Oh. I'm always encouraging my students to remember the importance of getting the elbows down. You know, it's not so much that I want to get my head down as that I want my elbows to touch the mat. Here, lifting up again and the back bending, some little movement in my body, just a little rocking. And then we're going to go to Baddha Konasana, the butterfly pose. So you see, I'm always just a little bit rocking and rolling my joints. And then I inhale and exhale. I want to get my face to my feet. Inhaling up, and really the only way to do that is to get the ribs more forward. And exhaling. Now I'm getting my chin to my feet. So see, I'm always just trying to get the ribs more forward. And then bow down, kiss the feet. Here's your butterfly pose, Baddha Konasana. Now here we are rolling back on the back. And this will be a full sit-up. I want to breathe and extend my body fully. Then with smooth control, lift up, bow the head, forward fold. You see a little bit of rounding in the back, but the elbows are down on the mat. Scooping back, controlling back like Pilates. I inhale and exhale. Smooth control. I don't really want to kick or toss my arms. I want the core abdominal muscles to do their work. Lying down smoothly. Arms go back. Inhale. See, I'm trying to settle my shoulder blades onto the mat, and then exhaling up. There's the forward fold. And back we go onto the back. Working more with the hip flexors and the rectus abdominis, the core muscles. We're going to Navasana Pike, and here it is once again. I'm just going to go smoothly up. Now you're going to hear me talk a lot about the strength of the hip flexors. A lot of people will say, oh, a trainer told me my hip flexors are tight, but you know, it's strange. They're probably both tight and weak. The practice of yoga is the practice of having strong hip flexors so that the body and the legs begin to come together. See? And back we go. So the hip flexors, iliopsoas, you know, that muscle works with the pelvic floor. It works with the quads. I'm going to inhale, exhale. I'm going to lift head and shoulders. And once again, very smoothly contracting up into Navasana. Notice the legs stay straight. Really reaching out through the back of the knees is so important. Now both hands on the right leg, and give a stretch. Now you see here, the leg is vertical, and there is some rounding, but these straight legs at the back of the knees. So Going back to the boat pose, and then now it's the left leg, drawing the left leg up, first lifting through the ribs, but then going ahead and rounding and connecting my face with the leg. We'll do this again. I'm going to let go, switch in the air through Navasana, the boat pose. This time though, the hands are going to go on top of the foot with an open palm. This is a clasp hand position over the flexed foot. And notice how I'm always just trying to rock a little bit, trying to generate welcome relaxation with the stretching, just kind of embracing the body. And then there's the boat pose again, Navasana, keeping the legs long and firm. Clasp hands will go over flexed foot, draw in, and enjoy. Just enjoy the stretch. Look up, inhaling, lift the ribs. You see how the ribs need to be able to move around. It's not that you can't have a round back, it's can you also have open ribs in the front. It's actually an element of both that we want. All right, moving on. We will get to sun salutes, but I just in the morning love undulating through the legs, the spine. This exercise is something that I call cat scratches, cat kickbacks, the way a cat will scratch and kick back in the litter box. Now, why am I doing this? It really encourages glute activation, hamstring activation, the rear chain muscles. See the way getting the leg to lift, and then I go back to child's pose after that. Relaxing the shoulders, opening the armpits, breathing, relaxing the face. We come back up to all fours. This next one is threading the legs under and over. This is such an important skill because especially for vinyasa students, you got to be able to move the leg underneath you without lifting your hands away, yeah? You can try this with your hands on blocks. It'll make it a little bit easier. But we really want to encourage this kind of liberal mobility that we can thread a leg in underneath our own torso and get these core activation muscles going. Going back to rest in the child's pose. And still just kind of moving things around, being able to move the ribs and the pelvis separately. Okay, that was threading the legs. And I come up, and next is threading the arms. This is very, very common in yoga classes. So I'm going to take my left arm up, inhale, and thread it under. Really, really releasing down onto the left shoulder. Up it goes. We're finally getting into the transverse abdominis, the TVA, which are the twisting muscles of the torso. See? So going up again, inhaling, always moving things around, exhaling, rotate, twist. And now this is very common and very modern to straighten out the right arm and the right leg and then to lift the right leg. Now this really encourages kind of back bending. It's a kind of a outside shoulder stretcher, but you have to be really careful. It's very easy to roll over and to lose your balance there. So take that with a grain of salt. I love to move things around. Keep it loose in the morning. Joints, shoulder, spine, ribs, hip sockets. Get it all moving. And then we'll come back up and do threading with the right arm. So I'm going to twist away from you. My right arm goes up, inhaling. And thread under. See, the right arm fully rests on the floor. We go up again, inhale, TVA, and exhale under. Those of you watching the video, looking at how I'm moving, you can see a little bit of a kind of thickness over my right shoulder. So it's not that the muscles aren't strong, it's just that scoliosis will encourage some of your muscles to get larger in an attempt to keep you even in gravity. Now here's that leg lift, and again there's a little bit of a balance challenge and some back bending here, so you got to be careful, not too high, you don't want to lose control, come out of it slow and easy, there's no hurry coming down. Move your body around, deep breathing. It's a morning practice, and so I want engagement but nothing bombastic. So we will be stretching fully, not a lot of chaturanga, not a lot of arm balances or big poses like that. So this is what I love in morning practice. See, so here, for example, I'm on all fours and then straighten out the right leg in front, and it's half splits, Ardha Hanumanasana, and I just bow down over the straight leg. And now coming up, the right knee is bent, the left knee is down. I want to rotate using the transverse abdominis to the left, and then side bend using the left side obliques and come back to center. And we'll do that again. So rotate with the transverse abdominis, then side bend, which all side bending has a little bit of back bending. These two actions together will help anyone who's trying to get better at back bending. And I am definitely trying to improve my back bending as a way to offset the scoliosis. So a lot of people with scoliosis are maybe afraid to back bend. As soon as I knew scoliosis was coming, I said, oh boy, I have got to work on back bending. So now we're in Prasarita Padottanasana, going down and standing and inhaling up, reach up, inhale, and exhale, forward fold over Prasarita, you see? And again, inhaling upright and exhaling, forward fold. You know, Prasarita just means to set the feet apart, and see, now I'm going to hold on to the toes. This is an official Prasarita Padottanasana because I'm holding onto the toes and stretching down. You see the way the elbows contract upward, and you see the way the shoulder blades squeeze together. So lovely pose, great for the morning. If you have trouble getting your head to the floor, you can lean a little bit forward or you can put a block there, but getting the legs medium stretched out and using the back muscles and the arms will help you engage downward in this pose. Whoa, all right. Well, we turn to the left side and return to all fours. From here, we're going to go ahead and set the knees wide, reach the arms out, go back to a child's pose, which are just, once again, great for morning practice. You're going to see a difference in my morning practice, especially if you're used to taking one of my live vinyasa classes, that I'm just very casual with my morning practice. Now, I am stretching. We're in the Ardha Hanumanasana with the left leg forward. I am stretching and bowing down, but one of the reasons that you might see me in a more vigorous, bombastic, arm strength style vinyasa class, one of the differences is that I ardently stretch in my morning practice so that then my legs are open for a more vigorous practice. So here we are, the left foot forward, right knee is back, the TVA twist, and then the oblique bending, right? The TVA twist, I'm not overly hinging. I'm not trying to hinge in the lunge. I do want to really contract my right rib now I don't know if you can tell, this is my right side, and some of the musculature there is just so thick, it is really hard for me to feel supple on my right side. But as I was saying, the best thing for scoliosis is to give the same intention and the same effort on both sides, even though they don't feel the same. On the outside, they might look the same, but they definitely don't feel the same. Okay. We're standing at the top of the mat on the left side, forward fold. Forward fold is so much is going on here. You know, I try to encourage my students to work with straight legs, but notice how I'm arcing and curling through the ribs and the spine, and really getting the understanding that I can move my torso around. I'm adding a TVA twist to the forward fold. So once the legs are long and straight, you want to move your ribs around. And now you see me doing these little forward fold pedal pushers. And I'm going to step the left foot back and go to Parsvottanasana on the right side. Step the left foot in, take a few pedal pushers. Step the right leg back, Parsvottanasana over the left leg. Pedal pushers, and all of this is strengthening and encouraging the hip flexor over the forward leg. It's encouraging the abdominal muscles to contract, albeit having a flat back. This is so tricky. You know, you're going to have to use the hip flexors contracting so that in a way you don't overstretch the muscles of the back with too much rounding. Here is a potato bud. I'm squatting and hugging down. I'm going to use this position for a deeper forward fold. You see how my face stays with my legs. Here is the potato bud. I'm squatting on my toes, wrapping my arms around my shins, getting a very deep contraction over the hip flexors. I'm going to keep the hip flexors firm as I straighten the legs and go to forward fold. And this is why straight legs is so important. It's important to say, well, here is the body position over bent knees, the potato bud. So the body is in the right position over the thighs. And here is that same position over straight legs. Forward folds. I'm doing some movements and just trying to enjoy the forward fold and alternate grip. The arms go behind and then reach around to the front of the ankles. And just wash and repeat. Wash and repeat. Forward fold. All right. And now we're getting closer and a little bit ready for easy sun salutes. These sun salutes have a modified chaturanga and basically 12 positions. So I'm going to count those positions out for you so you can more easily follow along. The arms go up is 1, forward fold is 2, left foot back in a low lunge 3, downward dog is 4. Bend the knees, arch the back 5, drop the chin and chest like chaturanga 6, cobra up or upward dog 7, downward facing dog is 8. Step the right foot forward in the lunge, drop the right knee is 9. Step your feet together, forward fold. Then we stand all the way up is 11. Ideally, hands in prayer is 12. The arms go up again, 1, 2, forward fold. Step the right foot back in the lunge, 3. Downward dog is 4. Bend your knees, arch your back. Drop the chin and chest. Flatten, cobra up, so my elbows extend, and you're going to notice at the end I'm going to take a little bit of a shalabhasana there, yeah. And downward facing dog is 8. Step now the left foot forward, 9 feet together is 10, forward fold. Standing all the way up is going to be 11. If you bring your hands to prayer, that's 12. Start all over again, arms overhead, inhale, 1, a little more back bending. Exhale, forward fold is 2. Right foot back in the lunge is 3. Look up, inhale. Exhale, downward dog is 4. Bend the knees, arch your back, inhale. 5, drop the chin and chest. 6, flatten. I like cobras in the morning instead of chaturanga and upward dogs. I like these cobras. 7, and release to downward dog is 8. And like I said, this is just my morning practice. I don't necessarily teach this way. My students who are used to my daytime classes might be more familiar with some of these moves than my evening, afternoon students, where the classes are a little bit more bombastic. So again, I'm reminding you that if you only do the bombastic style, you might lose suppleness, which is so important. So you gotta sometimes practice twice a day. I hate to say it. Yeah. So I step the right foot back in the lunge, left foot forward. Here's the downward facing dog. And bend the knees, arch the back, drop the chin and chest. This very, very simple, what I call a householder style. It's very supple and smooth, and there's a lot of time for breathing and awareness. Back to downward facing dog I go. And this is the last round. And so drop to the knees. Gonna step the left foot forward and move on to one of my favorite poses, Padikasana. The left leg is out to the side, and the right knee is down, and I take Padikasana. The right arm stretches over, and I'm gonna rotate through my TVA and my abdominals and focus on rotating in this pose instead of stretching down. Now this is my left side, which you will see performs a little bit better than my right side, and some of that is because of the scoliosis. So you can see, it just feels so good to me on this side. We're going to go to Prasarita, Padottanasana. Relax your neck. Relax your neck. And then setting up the right side, Padikasana, through the lunge, and then straighten out the right leg, pivot on the left knee, and come up, Padikasana. Look at the placement of the right foot. The toes are facing you. And I go down, and already what it feels like to me is it's very thick and immovable. I'm going to try to improve it by repeating through a forward fold, getting a little bit lower, rotating through the TVA, using the oblique abdominals. It might not feel the same on this side, but as I was saying before, I think it's important to give the same effort and attention. If you have scoliosis, things are thickening up and things are not cooperating with you, so you actually just have to almost kind of double down on those sides. It's so good for you. So my scoliosis students, if you're watching this, I hope it is encouraging to you. I've been practicing for 25 years, and I think the scoliosis started developing about 10, 15 years ago, and then I didn't do anything about it. I didn't feel anything. And then, in the last 10 years, I've had to really address it. The way that I address it is by focusing on back bending. This is my right arm going to my left leg, and so I just try to work on the back bending. Oddly, this side feels clunkier, and that is because the scoliosis is affecting the right leg and the right side lumbar and the ability of the right hip flexor to open, but things are possible. And we're going to do this again. Later, we'll do it from downward facing dog. Well, back bending is not the favorite of many students, and if you're not good at back bending, we just tend to avoid it. So camel pose, a full fallback camel, not looking forward to it, but I add it into my morning practice because I do want to stimulate my spine in the morning. It does stiffen overnight, and I do want to open the organs of the body and give them kind of a massage, a little squeeze on the backside, and open. And I want to work the nerves of the diaphragm, the phrenic nerve. I want to open up the diaphragm in the back bending position. Stimulate the diaphragm. Well, now here's the foot grab is coming up next from downward facing dog. You'll notice in the morning practice, not a lot of chaturanga. I could have put chaturanga vinyasa there, but I didn't because I'm going to do so many chaturanga vinyasa later in the day. Well, here now, the left leg goes up and the right hand goes up on my back. My students know I like to ask the foot to come to my hand without making any other changes in the body. The hand and the foot are actually designed to be together like puzzle pieces. So getting the foot to come to the hand encourages the hamstring to contract. We actually need strong hamstrings. It encourages the left glute muscle to do the lifting instead of the hand just grabbing and pulling the foot into position. So we want the rear chain muscles, the hamstring, the glute, the muscles of the lower back, we want them to be able to contract, yes? This is the property of yoga. It's not just one range of stretches. So I'm in downward facing dog. You have to establish a balance. The right foot is down and the right hand is down. The left arm is over my back and the right leg goes up. The balance is very difficult here. So you see me concentrating, you see me squeezing through my hamstring, you see me lifting from the glute, focusing on the balance. It is hard to stay flexed over the left hip flexor and then to arc and open the right hip flexor. So that is a hard balance, and I'm focusing there. Whoa, little child's pose. I could do chaturanga vinyasa, but you're seeing this video. It is about 8 a.m. on a Saturday morning. And so this is my personal practice, making sure that I get in the work that I need to before I go into standard classes, doing repertory that other students might need. This is a full fallback camel, which I thought I would never be able to do in my life. And if you're watching the video, you can really tell where my problems are in the glutes and the hip flexors, and in the upper back is not really bending. But I do remind my students that the back itself is designed to bend. The struggle is actually in the hip sockets and the shoulder sockets. Yes, that the quad and the triceps will struggle to extend. And so this is exactly why we have to work on it, is because these muscles are really discouraged to operate in that position unless it's just natural for you. Child's pose goes there, perfect after camel and Urdhva Dhanurasana. Okay. Well, as it said in the script in the beginning, our inspiration pose is Vismamitrasana, a very difficult pose, and I want to start to warm up to that pose via some warrior poses. This is a high crescent warrior, and I'm encouraging that the hips go down and that, oh gosh, the front left knee bend, you know. Then going into warrior two, keeping the long placement of the right leg, and now I'm trying to swag the hips underneath the ribs and get the pubic bone, the belly button, the sternum, and the crown of the head to align. Going into a triangle pose next. The wider your feet are apart, the more the arm will line up with your knee. And then I'm trying to rotate the ribs using the TVA so that the right rib is on the top and the left rib is on the bottom. Going back to warrior two, the basic command is that the right leg stays straight and the spine get vertical. The hips, the spine, the ribs get vertical. Parshva-Konasana. This is really setting us up for Vismamitrasana. Look at the angle of the top arm. Very reminiscent of Padikasana, the gate, which we did earlier. Okay. Going to the right side now. And setting up. I really take my time to set up my crescent warrior. You notice that? A lot of people just sweep their arms right up, but I just want to work the leg position, prayer position. I try to change as little as possible, which requires a focus on the rear ankle. Believe it or not, the rear ankle needs to make an adjustment in its pivoting. Then straightening the right leg and flowing into Trikonasana, Uttiti Trikonasana, the triangle pose. So many different positions of the hand placement. I like this one though because I can realize the vertical line of the arms without focusing on reaching for my foot. The elbow and the knee line up, which is actually where they're meant to line up. The body goes together like puzzle pieces. Yes, like the Da Vinci sketching. It's very geometrical. Parshva-Konasana, the right shoulder and the right knee match up. You have about a kind of 45-degree angle of the entire body on the left side. And that is getting us ready for Vismamitrasana. We are getting ready for it. Big pose. It's going to be a modified Vismamitrasana. I'm not going to do the foot grabs. There are a lot more than one variation of this pose. This is modified with the right knee down. You notice I'm getting my left shoulder underneath my left leg. And I'm going to push back and straighten the left leg. Now here it is again. This is why I'm really telling students you've got to work on straightening the legs. The quadriceps have to understand the command of lengthening, of extending. That was your modified Vismamitrasana. We will take a few breaths here and then go over to the right side. The nature of this pose is strong hip flexors, strong quadriceps, open hamstrings so that the leg can take the command. The right shoulder goes underneath the knee. You're going to see me dramatically push back so that the right leg will straighten, and then using very strong TVA muscles. See, I actually have to rotate towards you and extend out. I love this pose. It's quite difficult, but actually If you add the foot grab, it's harder, and so in my morning practice, I don't add it, but I want to be able to do Vismamitrasana later in the day, and so I'm adding that into morning practice. We have not done we haven't done any standard chaturanga, and we've not done any arm balances, and that is just the way that I like it in the morning. Stretching, stretching, stretching the legs, and affirming the relationship between the extremities, the legs and the arms, affirming the proper balance of energy between the extremities and the torso. This is a pigeon pose. We call it pigeon pose. The full pose is Ekapada Raja Kapotanasana, and I cannot do that pose. So I'm using the beginning part of that pose to encourage my back bending. Going through Prasarita, Padottanasana, getting the elbows down, letting my neck relax, and going to the right side, bending the right knee and foot, getting the right knee and foot in underneath me, sliding the left leg back. That's the way I like to get into pigeon. And instead of trying so hard to get the front leg in place, I spend a lot of time sliding the back leg back. Now, using my arms to push upward and lifting through the ribs, and just trying to encourage an upright posture, getting ready for maybe in my future I will have the full Ekapada Raja. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go from here to splits, because the left leg is already straight. And my students know I'm always explaining that splits has a lot to do with the rear leg, and it has a lot to do with back bending. I'm not going all the way up into Hanuman Asana. I want to explore, again, the back bending and the movement of the torso over the legs, and then go to Upavishta. To get to Upavishta Konasana first, I want to lie down on the right side body using oblique abdominals, strong hip flexor, and tensor fascia latae. Now look what I'm going to do with the rear leg. I'm going to push out through the rear leg and lift the knee from the mat. You do not want a lazy rear leg when you're working on splits. It's being able to sit back in the rear leg. Now going to Upavishta, I'm going to roll, what I call rolling through the hip sockets. And see, the left buttocks comes down and you're in the wide Upavishta Konasana. Look at that. Hands out to the feet, bowing down. And my teacher used to say, put your chin on the floor, not your forehead. The back is rounding, it's true, but you still want to try to extend the chin out. All right. We're going to go to the right side, back to the right side pigeon. And basically, I want to understand the rear right leg. Now, remember how I said earlier that the scoliosis is affecting the ability of this right leg to contract. There's just so much density in the upper back, so the back bending is coming a lot from the lumbar. Now, that doesn't bother me, but, and that's why I really go for it in back bending, because I want to address that scoliosis on my right side. You see, I just straighten out the left leg, and this side does not feel as delicious as the other side, but I try to tell myself that it is. And then basically twisting into the TVA so that my belly button and chest is facing you, then leaning in or contracting into the left side obliques. See? Now you're going to notice my right leg is the rear leg here, is not as happy lifting up from the mat. I really have to tell it to lift. So I give all sides the same intention and the same effort, even though one side doesn't feel as good. Here is the rolling through the femurs. Oy, 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 oy. Look at the right side, just really does not want to roll down. And then the right buttocks comes down and you're in the center for your Upavishta Konasana. You can do parts of that sequence with a lot of rolled blankets as props. You need a lot of cushion under the ankle bone, underneath the ischial tuberosity where you're sitting. And I'm going to bring my blanket back. I'm going to bring my legs back in and go right back to where we started. So for me, this is a good morning practice, about 45 minutes. And then I like to sit. Now I can think about the rest of my day. I can set my intentions and set my goals. The body is warmed up. It would be good to drink water, green tea. I do intermittent fasting, and so I won't be eating for another few hours, so I just try to let my energy settle in, and that is my morning practice.